In this video, I would like to show you how you can analyze Twitter feeds without a single line of code. Companies are hiring data scientists to do this sort of thing against various social media platforms and other data sources, but we're going to use Twitter in this particular example, and I want to show in the first couple of minutes of this video how anybody can do this. You do not need to know Python, you do not need to know R or all these other data scientist type programming languages. You need to know how to drag and drop elements on an interface or on a canvas. And so this demonstration will be done using a product called ChartPoint. To start the ChartPoint server, you just hit the start button, and then it hosts its own website. So really there's nothing to learn. Once we have done that, there are several ways to import data and to get the data at least loaded so that you can drag and drop the database elements around and start appreciating it. We'll cover all of the details in the last part of the video, but again, for the first couple of minutes, I just want to show you what this can do. So what I've done is I've imported 5 tweets, really not very many, just to get this started. And what I want to do is I want to analyze or determine the patterns of the topic that I've searched for. And what I would like to do is find the, let's come down here and see that this is the number of followers that the person who posted these particular tweets had. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this up here so that we can get a line trend going, and then what I'd like to do is just find the username and categorize that. So the details on how to do this specifically can be found easily at chartpoint.solutions. That's the website, chartpoint.solutions, and there are a lot of videos to get into depth there. But what we see here is that we have a Y scale over here and a Y scale over here, and this particular user tweeted something out that matched my search parameter criteria, and this person has 1,976 followers. I'm going to go ahead and give a more robust example, and we're going to go ahead and come into the Twitter search and change the name to we'll use Nime, I guess. We'll go ahead and just apply that, and all we need to do is run the search and then process the feed. So this is a channel that that is provided. You just need to put in some credentials for a Twitter API, and again I'll go over this in the latter part of the video, but it's really quite simple to set up because it's all done for us. And once we've done that, that feeds this database that ChartPoint is looking at. And now you'll notice that the application looks much different. We have a lot more information. And so the person with the most followers that tweeted anything about Nime was this person with 55,000 followers. And you can see who that was. We're going to go ahead and zoom in right here. And if you zoom in, you can see that they tweeted one thing out in recent history here, the last couple of days, and they have 55,000 followers. Over here we have 2 tweets from this user and 17,000 followers. And so if you want to hold Option down, you can hold Option down, and you'll notice that now it's showing only the 2 tweets that this particular user tweeted out. And it'll give you the details, it'll give the actual tweets and the time, how many people favored it, how many times it was retweeted, and you can sort of just come through here and start to appreciate some details. Now if you were to apply a search that is more specific to your field of interest, then the type of data that can be shown here will be far more relevant to you. I've gone ahead and I told it to track how many followers there were. You can actually just use that as the main bar chart itself, and you can swing over here, and now you'll see that if we do the max, I actually did that wrong, which is a good example because you can see how quickly and easily you can make corrective changes. The difference here between other types of platforms and other types of data scientist methods is that generally to make a correction takes some time. You have to go in and change lines of code, particularly if you want to get graphics involved. And so we can see that these are the users who have tweeted about our given topic and their relationship to all of the followers that they have based on count. So if you want to now focus on maybe sending this particular individual or these top 4 individuals an individual tweet about a topic, then it might interest them enough that they could retweet it to their 55,000 followers. So let's go ahead and try one more example, and then I'll get into some details on how this actually works. Let me go ahead and reset this zoom, and I'm going to go ahead and come back into KNIME, and I'm going to search. I guess we'll search MAMP. What this is it's a real easy way to get the database going, and it's actually what's bridging KNIME and ChartPoint together. So we'll go ahead and apply this, and I will do a quick search. This probably shouldn't take too long. There we go, and I'm going to go ahead and follow through with that. Now you'll notice that I have two data extracts. One of them is writing to an Excel file, and one of them is to the database. So I'm going to go ahead and just refresh this, and okay, a lot more folks have tweeted about this particular topic recently. I'm going to go ahead and just come in right into these ones. And here are 211,000. So again, there are ways to change this the views up. If we want to go ahead and come back to the number of tweets by counting the rows, and maybe we want to see not just how many users are following a given user, but we want to see how many favorited or retweeted particular topics. I'm going to go ahead and put both of those as max counts. And what this is going to do is it will do just what it did on the other ones, except we'll have an additional line sort of tracing through here. So let's go ahead and zoom in here. And you can see that here was, most of these were not retweeted. This one was retweeted a lot of times. And that this particular person, we don't have how many followers there are. So let's go ahead and add the number of followers and do a max count here and put it on its own Y scale. So this will go ahead and give us yet another line, and then we can zoom in, and you can see that this user has 10,000 followers. This particular tweet was favorited 4 times and retweeted 5. And if you want to get into the details, again, hold Option, and it'll give you those. Now, if you would like to actually extract all of this information, because when we zoom out, you can't appreciate any of this. It's just too much information. But you can export this. If you want to export the chart data, then what it will do is it will actually save into your downloads folder all of the details on this particular graphic. And so we'll go ahead and open this, and you'll see that it'll show the users, how many they tweeted, how many were favorited, and these other details. So you can get that right into Excel to do whatever you'd like with it. If you would like to export maybe just the tweets themselves, you can export the table data itself. So let's go ahead and zoom in on this, and we're going to go ahead and hold the Alt key down, and that will narrow our search down to just the 10 specific records. And now if I want to export the table data, what that will do is it will extract an Excel file that includes the actual tweets, and then you can scroll across here and get all of the details about the Twitter account that did the initial tweet. So it really gives you a lot of power and flexibility to bounce in and out of various topics, to appreciate patterns, maybe to find competition, or just any other type of data analysis trends that you would like to appreciate. You can export them to Excel in a couple of different ways. You can also generate a report, which is quite powerful. And if you generate the report, it will allow you to generate a multi-page PDF report, 1 page per each individualized item. So if I were to choose user, then in this particular case I would get probably 100 pages with a graphic and an associated chart table or an Excel table right under it. It's a really beautiful looking report, and again, you can see more on those reports at chartpoint.solutions. That's the website. So how do we get this to work? How is it that we can do one quick search on any topic and press a button and then have all of that fed into a graphical user interface that allows us to just drag and drop elements around? The first thing that I did in this particular example was I downloaded KNIME. If you go to knime.org, you can download it for free. It's really quite powerful, and it can get quite complicated, but the Twitter API and channel are included, and they're totally free. So you don't need to know anything about KNIME or the Twitter APIs really to get started. So go ahead and download KNIME, and I downloaded the large version, which is it's a pretty healthy download. It winds up being 1.3 gig, just because I wanted to include all of the different types of features that it has. So that was the first step. Now the second step is to come over to MAMP. There are various ways to do this, but the easiest way, I'm on a Mac, I just downloaded MAMP. I downloaded the Lite version, which is free, not the Pro version, and then I just installed it. And what MAMP is, let me go ahead and launch this here, it's an Apache server and a MySQL server. And you need MySQL in order to do this really seamlessly, which KNIME will write the results of the search query into a MySQL database. And so you need a MySQL database. But again, this video is for those who do not know any programming. And so if you download KNIME and come into preferences, you really don't need to do a single thing. You just need to be aware of maybe a port number that I'll show you in one area, and really that's it. So I went ahead, I downloaded it, and I hit start. That fired up my MySQL database server. Once KNIME was downloaded, I went into the examples section, and I typed in the word Twitter. And Twitter came up with this particular example file right here. And when you double click on this, it will load it. So I'll go ahead and run through this and show you exactly how this can be done. And this is the Twitter API connection. So you'll notice it says, hey, this is temporary, so you're going to need to save it as a new channel into your local station. And that's exactly what I did. Was I said, okay, let's go ahead and save that into my local onto my local hard drive. And this, I double clicked that, my bad. So I double click this, and this is my Twitter connection. When you double click on here, what you need to do is you do need to go to Twitter, and this is probably the hardest part. It's not difficult, but you do need to have these details from Twitter. You need to get an API key and a secret and an access token and an access token secret. This is because you need to have a Twitter account and you need to authenticate to their servers. So you need to go through the motions of getting these details from Twitter and just putting them in. There's no programming necessary here, but again, it is a technical step that you need to go to Twitter and find those details. Once the Twitter details and connector has been set up, the search piece was already provided, and the user piece was already provided. The search is where we simply change our query every time, and the users section, I didn't even change this. This was just in there, so I just sort of left it alone. And I'm going to go ahead and I'll leave this in here. There are a couple of different ways to write the data out, and in the example that they provide, in their free example here, you'll notice that they have their search, they have users, they don't have really anything for timeline. I don't use timeline. I don't use these either. I actually just sort of took these and drug them out of the way. I'm only using search and users. So you'll notice here, users and search. And the only thing that I had to do was add these things. And you don't need to add all of them. You can add just Excel. And if you use just the Excel version, that is also fine, because ChartPoint will work perfectly with Excel. Let me go ahead and show you how this can be done. If I come to ChartPoint and I don't have this connected to a MySQL database, if I don't want to download MAMP and start a MySQL server, that's totally fine. All I need to do is come to import CSV. And when you do this, you can drag and drop the file, or you can search for it. And here's the Twitter CSV that's been created each time I make a new one. So I'm going to go ahead and just import that. These are the the fields that were generated for me, so I don't need to do anything other than just review it and agree that it looks right, and I'll import and open this. I'll go ahead and open the table, and now you see again here I have a blank canvas, and all I need to do is start dragging things around. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and look at this by weekdays. These are the tweets by the day of the week. I'm going to go ahead and sort them by X and Y. And now if I would like to see the users, maybe I'll actually change this up again. Remember, it's easy to change what you're looking at. I'm going to go ahead and look at this by user, and then I'm going to add that as a weekdays time series. So again, this gets a little busy, and so you can zoom in on here, and you can see maybe the days of the week that each user sent out a tweet. This particular view is not very helpful at all, but the nice thing is it didn't take more than 10 seconds to try it and to see if it was going to be valuable. So I'll go ahead and take the time out, and I'll put the time in as a drill down, and if I do weekdays for the time, let's go ahead and change this to weekdays. If I change that in this manner, and then maybe I'll go ahead and just try to see how many each of these users have following them. So we'll max that particular scale. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and sort this by Y, so I get the users who send the most tweets out. And when I come into here, now that I've put the weekdays on here, it'll allow me to click into these 10 tweets and see what days of the week they were tweeted on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and now you can see that they actually sent 2 on Friday, Sunday, and Monday, and then 1 the rest of these days. So again, it's a way to just jump in and out and see a lot of information in a very small amount of time. It's really quite powerful. So that was done using the CSV connector, right? So again, you do not need MAMP if you want to just drop it into CSV and forget about these two, and then just drag CSV onto ChartPoint every time you make a query. That's a very easy manual step that is available to you. For those of you who would prefer that this be live, truly live, you can come over to the database writer area. If you search in here, you can search database writer, otherwise you can just click down here and sort of find it, but I'm going to go ahead and do database. And you'll notice that there are a host of options, and we just want the database writer. The database writer is pretty simple. All we're going to do is give it a table name, and then we come to really nowhere. I mean, you can put some of these details in. All I did was I put in a table name, and I unchecked append data. If this is checked, then every search you do will add on to itself, and I didn't want that, so I've got that unchecked. And then the MySQL connector, it is where you'll put in your credentials. You'll put in the IP address of your MAMP server. In this case is just going to be localhost. Your port number for MAMP by default is 8889. The database name I put in this NIME. The default username and password is root and root. So again, it's all very simple. Just a few things that you need to put in here. For the database, I'm going to show you how you create the database using NIME. I'm going to open the Web Start page. When you open this, then you have a tool called phpMyAdmin. When you come to phpMyAdmin, it opens this up. This is how you can control your MySQL database. And I just came to databases and typed in the word NIME. That was the database name that I created. And again, it's the one that needs to be matched in your MySQL connector. You need to just have NIME in here because that's what I typed in right here. And once you have NIME in here, if you click on here, here's the table that I created, analyze_Twitter. And in the database writer is where you match that. So I put an analyze_Twitter. So there are a few things that need to be done to make this work, but all of the heavy lifting is totally accomplished for us through the downloadable Twitter channel when you download NIME. You download NIME, you download MAMP, you do a little bit of setup, and even less if you just want the CSV writer. And ChartPoint is the easiest portion of all of it. You literally just hit start, and if you're dragging the users to a CSV writer, then all you need to do is drag and drop that CSV file onto the ChartPoint web page in order to appreciate the trends. So again, this particular example went into the weeds a little bit with some more complicated features, but ultimately the easiest path is dragging the CSV writer element out here, telling it where to drop it, which I told it to drop it on the desktop, and start ChartPoint, and then you can just analyze Twitter feeds at blazing speed.